Get that enough muscle really strong because you are enough. You are worthy. You are deserving.
You are now listening to the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer and author of the best-selling book, Stay the Course, Tame Your. And you're going to be getting some goodies today from the guest that's up next. Today's episode is sponsored by book number 2 from Dominic Dom Brightman, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. It is the field guide to help unleash the elite performer that is inside of you. Cop it today on Amazon.com or heading over to dombrightman.com and snag it in book, ebook, and audiobook so that way you can take it on the go and get yourself on the go to your northbound success. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as the Going North podcast, we got another super special, awesome human for you today, my friends. That's right, indeed. Courtesy of the magicalpodmatch.com, where podcast guests get to get matched up with some podcast hosts. And if it's a perfect match, they're in there like swimwear. Because today's guest in particular, she's able to fill a Virgo too, which is freaking awesome. She already gets 99 brownie points out of the gate just for that. And to make it even better and not butter, she's an international speaker, y'all. That's right, an international speaker, speaking all over the globe, or the pancake if you're a flat earther, as well as a thought leader and trainer on the topics of imposter syndrome, burnout, and peak performance. So let's give it up for Miss S.A. herself, the superstar, the angel herself, Sheryl Anjanette. How you doing today, Sheryl?
I'm doing great, Dom. So good to be here. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, great to have you on. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. So, my goodness. So, since it's your first time appearing on the show, I usually like to get a little bit of the guest backstory for the listeners so they have an idea of where the expert is coming from, since the resume doesn't give all the good stuff.
Sure. Well, it's a long life. My birthday's coming up, but it's going to be the big 6-0. So I have about, I know. And it feels good. I'm excited about it. But, I have 30 years in the business world. So I've done the entrepreneurial track 3 times, I had one of my companies for about 20 years. And with that company, I actually helped a lot of other entrepreneurs. So small, medium, and very large size corporations. And then I've been the executive C-suite for a couple of very large companies and all the things that lead up to that. You hear C-suite executive and you don't start there. You start at the beginning, you go through the middle manager experiences. So I've kind of done a lot in the business world, but I also did the deep dive into the healing arts. So I'm an integrative hypnotherapist. And really all that means is that I've studied and I've practiced multiple modalities of hypnotherapy. I'm an NLP master. I've done a clinical certification in stress, anxiety, and emotional regulation, and an advanced certification in cognitive behavioral neuroscience. And really, that's just to have a nice wide tool belt to be able to help people where they are, to get to where they want to go, which is how I really came across imposter syndrome. And I thought, wow, that's where so many people are stuck. And as hard as they're trying, they're finding themselves in self-sabotage. They're finding themselves really not getting their big wins or their dreams, or they are, but they're not feeling good about it. It's like, okay, what's next? I'm never good enough. I'm never worthy. I'm never deserving. And so I thought, we've got to kind of fix the cracks in the foundation before we build the house.
There you go. So I got to fill in them cracks, indeed. That's right, indeed. And I'm assuming the cracks came in through filled with semen as opposed to sand to some people, right? Metaphorically speaking.
Oh my goodness. Yes, metaphorically speaking. Hadn't thought of it quite that way before, yeah.
Yeah, I know it's super early for you, so my extra silly humor comes out on the sleepy folks.
That's good. That'll wake them up.
They're like, oh God, he's getting me confused this early in the morning. What the heck is wrong with him? Oh man. So my goodness. So with that wonderful expertise and really NLP. So what led you to really go down a track for NLP? Did folks just say you got this this mesmerizing way of speaking and they're like, hey, you should do NLP? Like what made you make that decision?
I think it's important when we're working with the mind. The mind is multi-layered and people come on different tracks and different things work in different ways. And what's beautiful is when you're going into hypnotherapy, when someone's in hypnosis and you're working with them, a lot of these NLP techniques can be used with hypnotherapy. So they're integrated, they really go together. It's sort of, I feel like in this world today, we're all going down one track. We're the expert in this, we're the expert in that. And the lines cross over. And when we're able to get a whole picture and a holistic approach to everything we do, we fill in those gaps. We fill in those gaps. So neurolinguistic programming is just the language of the mind. And it's using pictures and images and, kind of interrupting those patterns that we get caught in. And it's just really quick. It's very rapid. It's very powerful. As is hypnotherapy, when it's done really well with a really highly trained hypnotherapist, and he's just working as a guide. Nobody's there to implant messages. That shouldn't be the person you're working with. But, unlike stage hypnosis and the stuff you see in the movies, a hypnotherapist is just really a really good one, will help you get and find those root causes. The root cause, because when you pull out the roots, you can till the soil, you can plant new seeds. But when you're just working from the outside in and you're just kind of doing these techniques and these strategies, and you don't get that root, you can get better, but you always will. I find my clients, and I never like to say always or never, I don't like superlatives, but most people I find are still saying, yeah, it doesn't show up as much. Yeah, but I still feel like I'm not good enough, in spite of the evidence to the contrary, which is what imposter syndrome is. It's like a disconnect between our reality and our perception of ourselves. I hope
Ah,
that makes
yeah.
sense. Yeah.
It makes sense indeed, especially when you mention the root cause of everything, because it's so true. It's like, hey, good trees have roots. Heck, even, of course, wonderful hair. We got roots in our hair, make sure the roots are great. So it's like, hey, got to get to the root cause that makes the outer selves shine and be successful and have that good foundation. If I'm not mistaken, like with all the wonderful stuff you've been doing with the study of the mind and everything that you've been doing for all these years, led to this wonderful book you have about imposter syndrome. Indeed. So, my goodness, like this is like a popular topic nowadays, and it feels like almost everybody has it. But I feel like you think that
Yeah.
everybody doesn't have it, right? Or does everybody have it? Or
Well, that's such an important question. It's kind of like when we're going through this, when we're experiencing it. And by the way, never say struggle with it or never say suffer, because our subconscious mind is always listening. So isn't an experience much easier to overcome than something you're struggling with or suffering from? So for people that really want to get past it, that's a little trick. But we when we're experiencing this, we feel like we're the only one because we're putting on the mask, we're putting on the confidence suit, we're saying the right things, we're doing the right things, we're feeling our fear and doing it anyway, and we still feel like we're not good enough or worthy. There's that rumination, the thoughts that won't stop, you know, looping in the mind, or the losing sleep, or just really feeling that constant anxiety. And so we're hiding that. And so we feel like we're alone in this. And then we find out that it's really, really common. Before the pandemic, 70% of people identified as experiencing imposter syndrome. And since the pandemic, that number has only gone up. It's like 85% now, Tom. So that's a high number, but that's not everyone, right? If it's 85%, what that tells me is that there's 15% of the population that doesn't experience this. So do you want to be part of the 85% or the 15%? And the reason I know this is true is because I live with one of those people. My husband, he doesn't experience imposter syndrome, never has. Does he have doubt? Yes. Does he have fear? Of course. Does he compare himself occasionally? Yes. Everybody does, but it's in what I call the healthy zone. It's in a very adaptive place. Those are all emotions that are wired into us. They're meant to be with us. Fear's the great protector. Doubt's our great discernment vessel. Comparison, how do we know who we are if we don't know who we aren't? But it's when it gets into that maladaptive place that it's unhealthy. So we tend to think, wow, everyone has it. Now everyone has it. So that pendulum swings. It swings from I'm the only one to everyone has it. And the truth is, not everyone has it. And the other really, really great thing that I like to teach, and it's a belief. So you have to start with changing the belief, because whatever we believe is our reality, but you can get past it. And the reason I know this is because I've gotten past it. It's because I don't experience it anymore. It's like night and day. And because I've helped so many other people get past it, and I've seen the difference. And I don't mean to get past it like it still will rear its ugly head when something changes in your life. There's some big uncertainty or something new. I don't mean that. I mean really past it, really past it. So you can get past it, and you can be part of that 15% that's quietly confident, that feels good enough even when they make mistakes, that goes into something new and says, all right, I'm not nervous anymore. I'm going to get curious and excited about this. This is new. This could be fun. You know, the unknown could be interesting. So we get you to that place, but we do that by doing the deep dive. We have to reprogram, pull up those roots, and the outside, we need to repattern the mind. So it's an inside out, outside in approach. And that's what I go through the book, which is what really your question was, is called The Imposter Lies Within. The imposter lies within, and it lies within. The imposter, it's not that we're actually an imposter or even other people think we are, it's that we feel we are. We think we're the ones that are going to be exposed at any time as a fraud or a phony. So it lies within, but it's also a liar. It's lying to us because we really do have these accomplishments. We really are good enough. And it's lying to us, make us feel like we aren't good enough. So the book is The Imposter Lies Within. Silence your inner critic, tame your fear, unleash your badassery. And it's not a book you just read, it's a book you use. It's a journey. There are more than 20 exercises. There's an exercise glossary to go back to it. You're going to want to dog ear it and use highlighting pens. And there are 4 stages, 4 parts. So I take you through awareness first, because we don't know what we don't know, even when we think we do. And everything starts with awareness. It's taking the unconscious and making it conscious. And then insight, because you know what, Dom, just because you and I might both experience imposter syndrome, we probably would experience it differently. Different things are going to pop up in our lives differently because we have different history. We have different experiences. Men and women experience it differently. So the insight is to see how it's really showing up for you. And then the next part of the voyage, the journey past imposter syndrome, is alignment. Because remember, I told you there's a disconnect, right, between how we feel and our actual reality. So we start to get things in alignment. We start to align. And then the last part of the book is integration, because we need to now integrate into the whole. We do a lot of inner child work too with this. So now we bring those parts of us that felt left behind, the little boy or the little girl that didn't feel good enough or felt lonely or felt unsafe, right? Or felt confused, felt abandoned, or felt, like they didn't get something they needed, the nurturing, the kindness, the love, the listening ear, or they got something they should never have gotten, a harsh word or abuse or abandonment. And so we do a lot of that. We go back to that inner child, and we help that child, and then we integrate your child into the whole. And it's at different ages and different stages. I always kind of think of it as our children, because we're different at 3 years old than we are at 6 years old than we are at 12 years old, right? It's unlikely we're dealing with bullying at 4 or 5 years old, but at 11 or 12 years old, it's very, very common, right? It's likely at 12 years old that we're going to really be worried about monsters in the closet. But at 3 years old, at 4 years old, that's very real to that child. So we need to integrate that child. We need to make them feel loved. make sure they know they are more than enough. They are worthy. They are deserving. You are deserving. And then we get the whole integrated adult, right? Then we don't have the inner child acting out. It's called the outer child. It's when you see an adult acting like a child, right? We do it. We do it ourselves. We see it all the time, exploding with the temper, gossiping, getting stuck in victim mode, getting stuck in, he said, she said stuff, just, acting like we're in high school or in grade school, because we're still kind of stuck there because our wounded inner child is still there, right? So it makes sense. So when we can help that child to elevate, to understand, to heal, and then to see how well you're doing now. So look, we're okay. We're safe. We've got this. You're okay. You're doing great. And we become this whole integrated person. So that's what the book is about.
That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. A fully integrated adult. You'll love to see it indeed. That's right indeed. I always like to joke that adults are just bigger kids.
They are, right? Right. But you know what? Sometimes that's good, because the other thing we want to find is our playful inner child before he or she was wounded. And we want to play like dance full out. That's the happy child. That's the healthy child. That's what we want to be. We want to be that big child that's not like angry and hitting and, hurting. We want to be the happy child that's playing and helpful and can actually be surprised and delighted, right? Because you look at children, they're surprised and delighted by the littlest things. I remember my niece at 3 years old, my sister brought her a suitcase full of presents, and she dug through the whole suitcase to find the peanuts from the airplane, which of course they don't have anymore. You never get peanuts on airplanes, but it was like the littlest things can surprise and delight a child. So can we get back to that place where we can wake up and be surprised and delighted again by a sunset, or by a great cup of coffee, or just the opportunity to speak to a good friend and have a really cool conversation like this, with a really cool guy who I feel like we're going to break out music at any moment. Then that's what we want.
Oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So have you had any of those little surprises recently that's made you smile a little extra wider than usual recently?
Oh, every friggin' day. Every friggin' day. And I wasn't always like this, but because I've healed myself, I've really worked on it. And I've been through a lot. I've been through my own trauma and drama and stuff. I think we all have at different levels. And there's no comparison there. Each of you matter. Each of you, we don't have to compare ourselves and say, well, hers is much worse than mine, so mine doesn't matter. Yours matters. But I heal myself. And so now I wake up and I'm kind of curious and excited about the day. And I've trained myself, even when I'm feeling overwhelmed, to just not be overwhelmed and take one thing at a time, kind of land one plane at a time. And I've trained myself to do the deep breathing and to live in gratitude. And so I get surprised and delighted every day. I just put things out there. I don't know how well they'll work, and something works. And I'm like, whoa, it worked. Cool. I'm going to keep trying these things. And sometimes they don't. I think, okay, well, I'll just deal with it. It is what it is.
That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So my goodness, since you've been on these podcasts recently, on this podcast tour, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often?
Um, I think the question is the one that I think, and I think we touched on it already. Is this something I just have to live with? Is this something I'm always going to feel? Because it will feel like that when you're in it. I'm not good enough. And the answer is no, but it does start with the belief, the belief that you can change this. And the reason the answer is no, you don't have to live with this anymore, is because when you get past this and you heal this, you learn what that looks like. you can see what that looks like. And what it looks like isn't what people think. They think no doubt, no fear. Stop comparing yourself to everyone else. You hear that all the time, right? It's a motivation, no fear, just do it. And the truth is, getting past imposter syndrome is a much more human experience than that. It is not superhuman. It is feeling your fear. It is having doubt. It is, as I've said before, still comparing yourself from time to time. But there's something called the healthy zone. So I want you to think about a big circle, right? Right? And in that circle, think of a pendulum swinging over it, because we're dynamic beings, right? We're moving, we're growing, things change, they move us. And so that is not just hanging there. There's no perfection. We're not just sitting there and there's some kind of a normal. There's nothing that is actually normal other than what's normal for us. And so in this pendulum is kind of rocking back and forth within this circle. And that means something new comes up, or we have a little bit of fear, but it's adaptive. And we take that fear and we use it. And we decide, instead of being nervous, I'm going to be excited. I'm going to get curious. That's what that looks like in what I call the healthy zone. This is a term I've coined. It's in the book. And it looks like doubt comes up. Can you imagine life with no fear or no doubt? We would run into the lion's den. Without doubt, we believe everyone. We believe the real imposters out there, right? The real con artists. So we need our discernment muscle. And we use it, and then we make decisions, and we decide to move forward and do what's best for us and face our fears and get excited about them. And again, as I've said, we're going to compare ourselves, but we don't have to compare up or compare down. We can just compare ourselves so we can look around and say, this is where I'm at. There are people around me that are doing things longer or better than I am, or differently. How cool is that I am attracting these people into my world and I can learn from them? I must be doing something right. And instead of comparing down and looking for people that aren't doing things as well and saying, oh, you know what, I'm so much better than they are, that's going to make me feel good. Instead of that, what about, oh, wow, I've been there. Maybe there's something I can help them with. How can I help them get to where I'm at now? Maybe they'll even surpass me. That would be really cool. I'd love to see that. And we learn to train our mind to actually genuinely be happy about that comparison, about giving us a way to kind of see where we're at. So that's what getting past imposter syndrome looks like, right? And all of those feelings feel good. They feel so much lighter, so much better than being critical or harsh on ourselves or others, or being the people pleaser and never setting boundaries. I have a framework that I talk about that is 7 archetypes: the perfections, the people pleaser, the lone ranger, the savior, the superhero, the prodigy, and the master. And through these archetypes, you're able to kind of see how the experience comes in and what is a healthy zone for all of them. What would be healthy, so that you set boundaries. You don't put yourself last in your own life, but you can still be a good person. These are things that you learn to do. And so you be you, but you be you at the best you, in a way where you're lighter and you feel good and you can really enjoy your life.
That's right. Enjoy it so much you put an I in the enjoy. That's right.
That's right. I love that. That's so good.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, my goodness. So with everything going on with the imposter syndrome, that's right indeed, and helping folks to really conquer that. Was there any imposter syndrome you actually had to take on your journey to finally publishing this book and getting it out there for folks to conquer it themselves too?
I think I had primarily gotten past my imposter syndrome, the majority of it, before I wrote this book. I would say the part that I worked through, probably the first half of the book before I actually launched it, was, in the judgment world, there's 3 heads to the judgment monster in my book. There's our judgment of self, right? The self-critic, the inner critic, the fear of judgment from others, and then the way we judge others, those 3 heads. And So I was able to get past the judgment of others most easily because I just realized I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what their journey's been. And even when I think I do, there's probably more to the story. And maybe they're experiencing their own imposter syndrome. So I just let them be. Everyone's on their own journey, judgment free in my world. And my judgment of myself, I really worked on that inner critic. So that was my hardest one before writing the book. But I really got past that. And I learned to be really kind and be my own best friend because wherever you go, there you are, right? You are always with you. Wouldn't you rather hang out with your best friend or a coach or someone that has your back? Or do you want to hang out with a bully in the brain? So I just really worked on that. But the one that was hard for me, honestly, was the fear of judgment from others. What do other people think? And I had to really consciously work on that because even though I knew, I still felt, sometimes it's I know, but I feel. And I knew that what other people think of me is none of my business. I knew that it was going to be okay and that I don't need to be liked by everyone. That was okay. I know all of this, but I still worried about it. There was still a little bit of rumination with just a few people that really I don't even think were ever thinking about me. So it's all in my head. And so I finally got through that in the writing of the book and just letting it go, but with a lot of practice, a lot of work on that. Just every time I get outside of that healthy zone, I just kick myself back in. I say, no, it's okay. Doesn't matter. It's all good. And then I would just go out there because that would be the thing that would hold me back. That was kind of there were other things before that, but that was the main thing now.
There we go. That's right, indeed. One of the best things ever is when a person publishes their work, and they themselves are a great example of it, indeed, in this land of pleather jackets, metaphorically speaking. They want the genuine article, they want the real leather, and she's got you covered, y'all. She's got you covered like a blanket. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. So, my goodness, so if your wonderful book was a food, what would it be and why?
Oh, chocolate for sure. Why? I don't know. Chocolate makes everyone happy. It can change your mood in a nanosecond. I do the one with low sugar, 70% dark chocolate, healthy girl, but yeah, chocolate is like a dream come true. So better than many things in life. I won't say anymore. So yeah.
No hesitation with that. She's like, yeah, my book is chocolate, y'all. That's right. You know you love yourself some chocolate, y'all. It's a dream come true. That's right. Calms your mood. It's good stuff. That's right, indeed. Makes you feel so good. You spell good with 10 O's. It makes you feel good. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's what I'm talking about. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is, if you're to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but you're still in 2022, what advice would you give to yourself?
Mm. Believe in yourself. You're good enough. You're worthy. You're deserving. You do not need to take the treatment that you allow yourself to take from somebody that is not respecting you. There are other people out there that are much better fits for you, and you're worthy of that. Don't be afraid to go out on your own. For me, I was lonely in my 20s. I felt really lonely. I had gone through a trauma. I had done a lot of traveling, and it was a lot of the flight. I ended up marrying a narcissist, and that's not who I'm married to now. I have an amazing husband, but I just didn't believe in myself. I allowed a man to treat me poorly, really. And I took it because I didn't think enough of myself. So if you're there, work on yourself first. Get that enough muscle really strong because you are enough. You are worthy. You are deserving. That's what I would say. I would say do the inner work. Don't be afraid of it. A lot of people are afraid of it. It's like, what am I going to find? Am I going to open Pandora's box? But when you express emotion in a healthy way, not lashing out, but in a healthy way. And you're using it, a guide or a coach, or, for example, I'm doing a voyage right now past self-sabotage, and 100%, 100%, not 80%, not 90%, not 50%, 100% of the participants are having huge breakthroughs, huge, like completely life-changing stuff. And it's because they're doing the inner work. They're going in. We went through the same process: awareness, insight, alignment, integration. And it's just powerful stuff. But I would tell myself, don't be afraid. I was really good at being the observer. I could see it in everyone else, but I was terrified to look inside. So I did a lot of avoidance, a lot of escapism, and a lot of, just allowing other people to treat me in ways that I would never allow to them. Never. So that's the advice. That's a great question, by the way. Thank you.
My pleasure indeed. My pleasure indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, you're the right folks. That's right. You heard it right, folks. That's right. Know your worth, y'all. That's right indeed. Don't let nobody treat you just any old kind of way, y'all. We're all valuable humans, y'all. We're all valuable humans because we're alive indeed. That's right indeed. And I know, speaking of value, I know Sheryl's got a whole ton of value indeed. And folks need to keep up with you and all the stuff that you're doing indeed. So for those who need to do just that, what's the best way for folks to do so?
It's really easy to find me if you know how to spell my name. So it's Sheryl with an S, Sheryl, Anjanette, Anjanette. And my website is SherylAnjanette.com. My social handles are Sheryl Anjanette. So Instagram, I think LinkedIn has a hyphen there. So you can just pretty much find me that way. I have a quiz on my website, also my Instagram link in bio, an imposter syndrome quiz. So that's a great way to kind of take the quiz and see how it is showing up for you if you're curious. It's just a really powerful quiz, and you'll get some strategies right away in your inbox to help you. So that's just the easiest way.
There you go. That's right indeed. The easiest way indeed. So we're gonna put the links to all of Sheryl's stuff in the show notes indeed. And be sure to snag a copy of her book. Heck, share multiple copies with your friends, family. Heck, even share a copy with the penguin. Heck, even share with a camel too. So that way when they're going across the desert, they realize that hey, they are one of the best camels ever because they can make it through the desert and humans can't. That's right. Unless they have a camel. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, any parting words before we close up shop, Sheryl?
Oh, thank you. Well, my parting words are very simply: you are worthy, you are deserving, you are lovable, and you are more than enough. Not only are you good enough, you are more than enough.
Thanks a bunch for tuning in and setting aside some of your time to listen to this wonderful podcast, Going North. If you really enjoyed what you heard, do me a solid and share this with your network and someone that you care about that would get something out of it too. And be sure to subscribe to hear more, and heck, even check out the backlog if you would like, because there are hundreds of episodes to choose from, and they just keep getting better and not butter.